So hello there guys, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the DNF1 F1 podcast. I hope that you guys are doing well and staying safe as always. Welcome along to the 2023 F1 predictions episode at DNF1. We had a lot of fun doing this last year for the 2022 version. Hopefully this one will be a little bit more refined and a little bit more straightforward. And of course, we've got the added little spice of a bit of competition. Bit of healthy competition as well amongst the DNF1 panel and a special guest. First of all, welcome on the show as always, Lee Wannington and Courtney Pine. Gentlemen, how are we doing? Are we okay? Lee, let's start with you.
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. I'm looking forward to getting our predictions out and seeing how our views are of how the season's going to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you'll agree that last year's one was a little bit lopsided in my favour, hence why I've decided to refine this a little bit and make this a little bit more fair in terms of competition. And,
but I took it to you last year. You had to cheat at the end to win.
Look, I told you already, I consulted with Michael Massey. He said it was fine. Therefore, I win. There you go. Secure.
It's good to see you got over it as well, Lee.
Oh, yeah. Well, we'll give you that impression.
Well, we don't want to draw too many parallels because we might get in trouble for that. Courtney, how are you doing, mate? You're good?
Yeah, I'm doing well. No complaints. I've just been looking through the list once over because I do not want to be losing this. I'm fully focused. I'm in the game, so I'm looking forward to cracking on with it.
Good. Glad to hear it. And we're also joined by a special guest who put a few interesting comments on our predictions episode or the review that we did last season, and we've decided to call him out on his kind offer to come on the show and be a part of this predictions episode. We've got Luke here from the 1892 Reds podcast, or Reds TV, I should say, sporting the Red Bull jersey from last season. So no prizes for guessing who he is going to be supporting this season. Luke, thanks for coming on the show again. How are you doing?
I'm all good. Thanks for letting me come on, Adam, Lee, Courtney. Yeah, what interesting comments have I not put on the channel, obviously, over the last however long you've been doing the show. But I'm actually looking forward to this. Obviously, Lee called me out on my comment and turned around and said that, if we want to do a prediction show and obviously a bit of a forfeit, then, come on and join us. And yeah, that's what I'm here for, to hopefully back my predictions and wear the champion shirt at the end of the season like I'm doing now. So let's see, obviously, hopefully I'm not the one that's going to be getting the least amount of points towards the end of the season.
Well, I know for one thing that everyone on the DNF1 panel, myself included, will be hoping that the champion shirt will not be a Red Bull one for different reasons. But of course, Red Bull fans, you're more than welcome to enjoy it this year. And if it goes your way again, then fair play. As it happens, though, what's going to be quite interesting about this episode is we've got a bit of a forfeit this year. And before I get into that, I just want to express our gratitude to all of you that have chosen to subscribe to the YouTube channel and, of course, pushing us along nicely, getting closer to 1,000 subs. So thank you so much for that. Thank you very much to those of you that gave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcasting platform. We got a few in from Spotify. Unfortunately, we don't know who gave that to us, so if you are listening, thank you very, very much. Of course, if you do want to shout out, get in touch with us on our socials and we'll give you a shout out on the next episode. Just remember, guys, of course, we do give shout outs to 5-star reviews. However, if you do it on Spotify, you do need to let us know because Spotify don't tell us, unfortunately. Apple, iTunes, podcasts, they do, but unfortunately, Spotify don't. So do get in touch if you want to shout out on the next episode. Coming back to the forfeit now that we've plugged all of that, this one's going to be interesting. So we've got 10 listed categories for predictions, which I've asked the panel and Luke to give me their answers to. Each one is going to be worth 1 point with the exception of the final one, the bold prediction, which is going to be worth 5 points. So to clarify, the maximum score is going to be 14, assuming that we get all of them right. And if one of us does happen to get all of them right, then quite frankly, we're in the wrong business. We should take up gambling for a living, although I would never endorse that. So, of course, please do gamble responsibly if you are partaking in that. So, it will be quite interesting. We have got the added spice of a little forfeit. Now, we were coming up with some ideas to make this a little bit interesting, and we would love for you guys to follow us along with our journey for this year. And I've already agreed this with the panel, so I'm going to spell out the forfeit, and we'll get our reactions to that straight away following that. And basically, whichever one of us comes last in the prediction, so obviously gets less points than everybody else, they will have to stand in, I say, around Oxford Street in central London for about half an hour wearing a rival team's colours, holding up a sign saying, I lost a bet, and have to acknowledge so forth and so forth. So just spell it out for Luke, being a Red Bull fan, he will have to wear a Mercedes top with a sign saying, I lost a bet, and therefore must acknowledge that Lewis Hamilton is better than Max Verstappen. For Courtney and Lee, it will be the opposite, wearing a Red Bull top, acknowledging that Max is better than Lewis. For me, however, of course, I don't really have a stake in this fight. Mine will be a bit different, something close to me. I will be wearing a Mercedes shirt with a sign saying, I must acknowledge that Sir Lewis Hamilton is better than Michael Schumacher. And
that's the one I want. I have to beat you.
That's the one that I've wanted it for years.
Well, hopefully I will defend Michael's legacy and try to make sure my predictions are solid enough where I don't come last. So that is what is at stake.
Just like Mick's doing.
Exactly. Yeah, why not? Yeah.
You had to shut that in, didn't you, Lee?
Yeah, gonna have to. Too soon. But of course, yeah. So one of us is going to have to swallow some hard pills, if you like, and take that medicine. But of course, we'll find out at the end of the season. I believe that's probably going to be around the last weekend at Christmas, I think we all agreed, where it's quite busy. So that should be quite interesting. So, yeah, do keep an eye on the season, and we'll have to find out towards the end of the season which one of us has to do that forfeit. So getting into this episode, of course, guys, we've got the first category. Now, of course, play along at home if you want, and let us know in the comments what you're going with. First one is going to be, what will be the biggest surprise in 2023? Luke, seeing as you are our guest, I'm going to come to you first.
Oh. Biggest surprise in 2023. I don't want to go easy. I mean, I think I want to try and sort of be a bit braver with some of my predictions.
Be as brave as you like. It makes it easy for us with a forfeit.
I looked at it. To be fair, I was thinking along the lines of sort of McLaren sort of maybe getting a win as a surprise. But I didn't really sort of want to go along those lines because I wanted it in a sort of different sort of category. But my surprise of the season would be, and it's towards Red Bull, and I think it would be Perez to lose his seat at the end of the season.
Ooh. That's a good one.
I think with the inclusion of Ricciardo in the team, there may be a possibility that next year Ricciardo takes the space with Verstappen. So that's why I believe that there could be the surprise where Perez will be out of his seat at the end of the season.
That's an interesting one. Although we do have to be mindful of the fact that that may not be announced until, during the winter break. So I think we might need to put a pin in that one, see how things go. But yeah, a bold one nonetheless. So just to clarify, your first one is Perez to lose his seat at the end of the season.
That's right.
Okay. Courtney, let's move on to you. What have you got for your biggest surprise of 2023?
I'm going to say Aston Martin. There's been a lot going on behind the scenes there. Fernando Alonso's abrupt move from Alpine to the team. I feel we know something that we don't. The way that we reacted to Lewis moving to Mercedes, Aston Martin are the team to keep an eye on this season.
And what will be the surprise for them? Will that be a good surprise?
It'll be a good surprise. I really expect them to go to the next level this year.
Okay. I think for that particular prediction, some of these, we may have to review these later on in the season and judge whether or not we should award a point for that.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll have to come back to that.
What I'm going to say, without giving too many spoilers, it ties in with one of my other predictions, so it will make sense.
Courtney knows something that we don't. Interesting. Lee, what about you? What's your biggest surprise for 2023?
Actually, the surprise is I agree with Courtney.
That's a surprise. So
that's my surprise.
So in other words, I think Luke and I are going to have to try and agree whether or not that one comes through or not.
I think someone doesn't want to do the forfeit. In all honesty, I think they want to play it safe.
I was going to say Aston Martin before Courtney said it. But for the similar lines, that I do think there's something going on that made Fernando look at jumping ship apart from his dissatisfaction with Alpine. So yeah, I do think that there is going to be a surprise there, and in the Spanish media there is a lot of excitement regarding what Fernando can achieve in that new car. So yeah, it's definitely going to be a surprise to see what they bring this season.
Yeah, it will be interesting. I mean, based on Fernando's track record, when he tends to jump ship, it doesn't necessarily work out in his favour. I mean, if it was Sir Lewis Hamilton jumping ship to Aston Martin, I'd be like, hold on, got to keep an eye on them next season because something's cooking over there. But
well, he's got 100% record, hasn't he?
well, yeah, there you go.
But Fernando has to break that duck at some time, doesn't he? Like he makes so many bad decisions.
You'd think so,
he has to.
It's all a part of El Plan.
No, you'd think so at some point. I mean, you can't even class him as being the person that leaves and then success finds the team that used to be there. I mean, they two tend to get better, but it's not like, when he left Ferrari started winning world championships or anything silly like that, or McLaren, for
he
example.
left McLaren the first time when they won a championship.
Yeah, but, even if he'd have stayed, straight away, it was what it was, wasn't it? I think we can all agree that if Fernando and Lewis were still together at McLaren, Massa would have been the 2008 world champion rather than Lewis. I think we can all agree. I mean, anyone that doesn't agree with me, just look what happened the year before, and Kimi nicked that one as well. So, make of that what you will. Okay, so my prediction for the biggest surprise 2023, I think similar along the lines of what you both done with Aston Martin, but I'm going to stick my neck out with Alpine, saying that they're going to comfortably finish in P4 in the Constructors, and they will score at least one podium in 2023.
Good one.
Yeah, so I wanted to go a little bit more bold than that because Alpine finished 4th last year and they were pretty good. So I don't want to just say, they'll do it again because it's not really a surprise, is it? I think that's almost an expectation, but I want to add a podium. So if they don't get a podium, doesn't count if they finish P4. All right, so just getting that out there. Next one, who or what will be the biggest letdown in 2023? Lee, you got this one right last season. With your prediction. What are you thinking for this one?
I mean, I am torn between two teams. I'm assuming it's a letdown as a team. I did get it right. My letdown, I think it's going to be Williams, unfortunately to say. I do think AlphaTauri will get their act together this year. And it'll be Williams going to be the letdown this year. Although it's based on previous form, obviously that is consistent over the last couple of years. But yeah, unfortunately to say, I don't see them coming off the bottom.
I mean, what would we quantify as a letdown for Williams based on their form last year? Because they've got to almost do even worse than they did last year just gone, haven't they?
Yeah, okay. I can. If you come back to me, I'll think of another one.
I mean, you can still have that. I just think like if that's going to be a letdown compared to where they were, like what do you quantify as that being even more disappointing? Because I mean, Latifi, he's not going to be there this year. So,
okay. I'll quantify that. I don't think Logan Sargent is going to deliver much better results than Latifi.
Fair enough. I'll take that one. And Courtney, what about you? Who or what's going to be the biggest letdown in 2023?
I'm looking at you, Luke, when I say this. I'm gonna say Sergio Perez.
Oh, okay.
Because he's done a solid job for the team. Obviously contributed to their 2021 Drivers' Championship that was gifted to Max. But I do feel that we saw a breakdown in a relationship quite dramatically at the end of the season. And I think where things are going to be tighter, I expect things to be tighter at the front. That pressure is going to build on a team. And I just feel that Sergio Perez isn't going to be as compliant with Max being the number one driver. I don't think it's going to work out for Sergio. I just think things are going to become rocky between the drivers and he's going to suffer as a consequence of it.
That's a pretty good one. I like that one. Luke, let's come to you next.
I'm actually going to go to the sister team of Red Bull and AlphaTauri. I think Yuki Tsunoda is going to be the biggest letdown. I think it's one of those where they've lost a big asset in Pierre Gasly. And now, all right, Nick de Vries is a very good replacement. Obviously, he's won the Formula E World Championship. He done well at Monza. Was it he come 9th, I think, in the race that he had to race in Monza last year. So he comes with a lot of vast experience. And this is, for me, the season where Yuki Tsunoda really needs to step up. It's his 3rd season. He could potentially as well lose his seat in the sport. So, in my opinion, the biggest letdown will be Yuki Tsunoda.
Yeah, I don't want to agree with that, but I can see the logic in it. I am going to go with just AlphaTauri, and similar to what I asked Lee, I'll expand on this a little bit. I don't think they're going to finish above P9 in the Constructors. I think as a baseline, I think for that one to count, they have to finish P9 or lower in the Constructors Championship. And as you said, Luke, I think Yuki Tsunoda, it's going to be a tough year for him. He has to deliver. I'm not sure he's going to be capable. Nick De Vries, again, technically a rookie, although, you know, a bit more experienced than your average rookie. But I think the car's not going to be that great either. You know, everybody's talking about progressing forward. Even Haas is talking about progressing forward. I'm not sure AlphaTauri are going to be able to do that. I think they're going to try and change their car to be a bit more like Red Bull, but I just think they're going to struggle because a lot of the teams already are doing that, and they were doing that before them. So I think they're going to struggle again this year. And with two drivers that are fairly inexperienced compared to some of the others, I think they will struggle. Let's move on to the next category. Surprise race winner in 2023. Now, simply put, the rules of this one are fairly simple. It can be anybody that isn't in one of the top three cars, i.e. Mercedes, Ferrari or Red Bull. I think that's probably what would count as a surprise winner in 2023, especially last season where we only got one driver outside those three that was on a podium in Lando Norris. So I'm going to kick us off with this one. Pierre Gasly, I will pick for my surprise winner. As I said, I think it goes in tandem with what I said about Alpine. Gasly's already a proven race winner. I mean, so's Ocon. But I've got a funny feeling this is going to be a breakthrough year for Gasly. Now that he's got a very good car underneath him, I think he's going to show his quality. And I think we may get a crazy race this year. And I think like we saw in Monza in 2020, I think he's going to deliver on that. Lee, who is your surprise race winner for 2023?
Fernando Alonso.
I had a feeling you might go with that one. Courtney, should I even ask you or?
No, mine is Lando Norris.
Oh, okay. Oh. Nice. I like it.
The reason being is this McLaren concept. I don't know if they're going to follow on with it, but it had a peaky performance. It was either high or low, and I just feel that it's inevitable that Lando will win a race. I feel we're going to go to an exceptional race. You know, a race that usually brings out dramatic things like Azerbaijan, for example. That Lando is going to capitalise and get his first race win this season.
I like that. I'll be honest. I mean, I thought you were going to go Fernando Alonso like Lee, but no, I'm glad you're repping Lando on this one. And of course, remember, it was only 2021 in Sochi that Lando was so close to winning his first race before the weather changed and ultimately got caught out by the conditions. And yeah, hopefully next time he will be making the right choice at the right time and get that W. But it would be a great one to come through, Courtney. I will not be disappointed if you get a point for that one. Luke, who's your surprise winner in 2023?
Well, you said the top three teams. I was going to go for a surprise winner. Ferrari get an actual strategy right, because that would be a surprise.
I did send everybody a list on this one. So Luke, it's definitely race winner. So I'm going to have to push you for one if you have to come up with one at the top of your head right now.
No, I'm with Courtney. I think Lando Norris, I think this year definitely will win a race.
Fair enough. Good shouts all around. Remember, guys, let us know in the comment section what some of your predictions are for this one. And it'd be fun to see at the end of the season some of you come back and I'll see how you do compared to us on the scoreboard. Next category, the 2023 Drivers' World Champion will be. Luke, should I even ask where you're going with this one, or should I just predict your prediction?
Lewis Hamilton.
Oh, you said it.
He said it.
There you go, that's it. We're taking that one.
I didn't get the sir in there. No. As much as he's an unbelievable driver, one of the greatest of all time. Yeah, but no, Max Verstappen makes it a triple world champion for me.
Yeah, it pains me to say it because I kind of want this to go towards Ferrari, one of their two, but I'm going to go with Max as well. I think the way he dominated last season and how good that Red Bull was last year, it's going to take some doing for someone and some team to dismantle that top order. I think it could be another year for them. So yeah, I'm going to go with Max Verstappen. Courtney, what about you?
Yeah, I'm going with Max as well.
Ooh, Lee, are we going for a quartet?
No, full Max.
We're all in
that
for
must
Max.
be painful for you two to say. Max.
No, the thing is, look, with the whole Max Verstappen thing, I don't like Christian Horner. I have a problem with some of his fan base, but I do have the utmost respect for Max Verstappen as a driver. So that's why, Adam, you said it perfectly yourself. He took it to a new level last year, and I just feel he's going to take a mighty mess up from Red Bull this year to stop Max in his tracks.
I mean, it's the competition, isn't it? Because, I mean, we can argue that Ferrari might be best placed with the car capabilities to do that, and perhaps with Charles Leclerc, arguably, that is the best combination available. But you just can't trust Ferrari. And even if they have a great car underneath them, they probably might throw it away again in the same way they did last season. Maybe not as much, but certainly enough for Red Bull and Max Verstappen to take advantage. And with Mercedes, yes, Sir Lewis Hamilton obviously was driving really well towards the end of last season. Mercedes will definitely improve, but will they improve enough to give Red Bull a fight like they did in 2021? I'm not so sure. I think it might take a bit longer. Hope I'm wrong, but that's where my head's going with that one. Lee, I'm guessing you're probably thinking the same thing as the rest of us on that one.
Oh yeah, I do think the step up that Max delivered last year, League of One, it wasn't just the car making that differential. You just have to look at the difference between him and Sergio, and even if Red Bull struggled this year due to the penalty for breaching the cost cap, they're going to still start the season with a very good car, and we all know, based on previous seasons, if you start well, even if you lose it, you can still win the championship. You just have to look back at Braun in 2009, for example, win 7 races and they still won the championship. So they may lose an advantage over the season, but Max is still going to drive brilliantly off the car, regardless if it's the best car over the season or not.
Yeah, fair point. Next category, the 2023 Constructors World Champions will be Courtney. Who do you think?
This might sound a bit bold, but I'm going to say Mercedes.
Oh, I was hoping you'd say Ferrari, but
no, I'm going to say Mercedes because I do think it's going to be a close championship, and I just feel that with the driver combination that they have, I feel they're going to be racking up the most points. As I said, I expect things to go a little bit rocky for Sergio Perez. Ferrari will be Ferrari, and I just think we saw it last season with their 2 drivers. If the Mercedes was anywhere near good enough, the lads in that team get the results for them. So I feel they'll accumulate enough points between them to make a real impact in this tight championship battle that we all expect to see.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. And of course, I think a lot of people would agree, myself included, that Mercedes do have the best driver pairing of anyone on the grid. I mean, it's quite close, but I think we can trust Sir Lewis, and we can certainly trust George Russell after what he did last season, that if that car is in relative competitive shape compared to the Red Bulls and the Ferraris next season, you can definitely bank on those two picking up the points. Lee, what are you going for Constructors Champions?
Once again, I agree with Courtney.
Hey, you two been colluding together? Is this your strategy?
We compared answers beforehand.
Yeah.
For the same reason that I do believe that Sergio is going to struggle in a closer championship between the 3 teams. Ferrari's change with their team principal, it's going to take more than the first season for it to bear any fruit. I do believe that Mercedes will be closer, and they'll be the pain in Sergio's neck, proverbial neck, obviously, and do enough to clinch Constructors.
Fair enough. Luke, where are you going for next season?
I was actually leaning towards Ferrari, and the only reason why, I just feel that they might finish a few more races within higher scoring areas where they missed out on last season. But to see Max last season scored 454 points, he scored 100 points less than Ferrari last season on his own. Even though Perez might have a bad, obviously it kind of like contradicts when I said like Perez will lose his seat. I just think with Max scoring those amount of points, and if he does it again this season, I think it's just difficult for any of the other teams to really. Perez, in my opinion, will score at least 200 points next year. So I'm actually going to go with Red Bull, but I think it'll be a lot closer this year in the Constructors compared to last year.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think it's going to be Red Bull again this year. I would think it will be closer. I think Ferrari will be a bit closer. I think Mercedes will certainly be closer. But I do feel that with Max, I think he's going to score so many points that perhaps not as many as last season, but it does make the job a little bit easier for Sergio Perez. And whilst I think that Sergio Perez, if I was to pick a position in the championship, I would say probably 5th or 4th in the Drivers' Championship this season. I just feel that with Max, you've got that element there where the number 2 can only needs to do so much. I mean, I think, if I'm right, I might be wrong in this, that Max could have had Lando Norris's points as a teammate and still won the Constructors' Championship. I might not be right, but it's something along those lines. It was how close it was. So, yeah, I'm going to go Red Bull as well, as much as it pains me to say it. But, Yeah, let's move on. That's an interesting one because I think that one could be. You could argue a case for all three teams in that regard. A lot of it is probably hope and depends on what they can do. And we'll have to wait and see. That could be quite an interesting one. All three of them definitely have a fair claim to being Constructors Champions next season, depending on what they deliver. Next category, moving on quite quickly here, Rookie of the Year. Now, just to clarify, we have a few rookies in the field. For the benefit of any arguments, I am including Nick De Vries in this argument. I know he's already driven in a Formula 1 race, but I think it's not been a proper rookie season, so we're going to include him in this. We've also got Oscar Piastri. We also have Logan Sargent as well. Nico Hulkenberg is not included in this list because he's already had 2 or 3 F1 careers already, so we can't really count him in this one. But out of those 3 drivers, guys, who are we picking? I'm going to go first, Oscar Piastri. And I'd be surprised if anyone goes differently. But Luke?
I think based on what I said about Yuki Tsunoda, I'm going to go with Nick De Vries.
I should clarify, the definition of rookie in the year, same way as it is in F1, is the rookie that scores the most points. So, if...
yeah. No, thanks for mentioning.
Sorry, I should mention that because this is how F1 do it. Whoever scores the most points is rookie of the year. That's why I went with Piastri.
In that case, I will go safe in Oscar Piastri, but I do think De Vries will have a good season.
Well, I'll tell you what, if Nick De Vries scores more points, and this applies to Luke, so Courtney Lee, I'm not letting you have this one either. If Nick De Vries does outscore Oscar Piastri, you can have 2 points for that one.
That's a good one, yeah.
But Courtney Lee, you don't get that. Because I know where you two were thinking.
They were thinking Logan Sargent, they want 3 points.
That'd be a miracle. I reckon that should be an automatic win.
Well, it won't be for Lee because Williams were his biggest letdown, so can't have that one.
I'm going to say Oscar Piastri as well. I think, look, we've seen how well he's done in the junior categories. And I think he's also coming into F1 with a point to prove, given that he got a lot of bad press for the way that he left Alpine and went to McLaren. So I think he's going to come into the sport with fire in his belly. He's got a solid teammate in Lando Norris as well, who will, help him settle in. And I just feel he's going to hit the ground running. And I just think he's going to do a good job for the team. So I'm going with Oscar Piastri 100%.
What about you, Lee?
No, I was going with Oscar for the reason that it was be the most point scorer.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, let's move on to the next category. Will a driver be dropped mid-season? Now, this is a simple yes or no. You don't have to give me a name on this one. I'm going no. A driver won't be dropped mid-season. Lee?
No.
Courtney?
No.
Luke?
Courtney was nodding and went no.
That was good audio commentary for the benefit of those listening to this pod rather than watching.
Thanks for that, Luke. Thanks for dropping on this bus, mate.
Courtney's not sure, basically.
No, I was sure that it was no.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
Fair enough. I'm going to chuck in an extra one, if I may. And it's another yes or no, just to make it a nice, even 15 points. Will Daniel Ricciardo drive in an F1 race in 2023? Yes or no? Luke, go on. You can go first.
Does COVID rules still apply?
Well, it would have been in China if we went there, I think. Although they did remove that, try to get a race on. But I guess the rules probably would apply if the driver's not well enough. Depends. We've never had a driver negotiate driving a race when they've had COVID or not, have we?
I'll throw a caveat into this, Luke. I'm going to help you out. Imagine if Mercedes and Red Bull are close and Max Verstappen and Lewis have a few tangles. God forbid, let me add this, God forbid, before we have the pitchforks and the torches after me. If it gets juicy between Max and Lewis, there could be, possible injury. So let's not rule it out. As much as I don't want it to happen, if it's going to happen to a team, it could well be Red Bull if it's close next season.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing that caveat into it.
For the listeners.
I'm trying to throw you off, Luke. I'm trying to throw you off.
For the listeners, if you have any wood on you right now, whether that's a plank or a floor, please touch it because we don't want nothing to happen to either of them. So, touch wood. And, Courtney touching his head. So, Luke, what are you going, yes or no?
No.
No. Courtney, after that lengthy explanation of a caveat there.
No, but I'll help you out, Courtney. Imagine Mercedes,
No, I'm saying no. I had to try a bit of gamesmanship there, Luke. You didn't fall for it, but I'm going to say no.
Lee? Actually,
Yeah,
I'm going to
I'm gonna
help
say no.
you out on this one, shall I? No.
No, I'm good. Thank you. I'm going to say no.
No. No one wants to help me out. No, okay. No, I don't think he will. Personally, I'd love to see
Adam's
it, but
going to go with plan E.
Okay. 5 points for me. Yeah. No. Okay. So extra category, Daniel Ricciardo. None of us are expecting him to drive in 2023. So, and that's a race. That's not a practice session like a young drivers test like Fernando Alonso did at the ripe old age of 41. So, no, those don't count.
And now we've said that they now one of the Red Bull drivers is going to get COVID and they're going to race in this. It's like,
Well,
okay.
it doesn't matter. None of us will get points for it. So, Courtney,
Adam, can we add a category for you? How many plans are Ferrari going to go through this year?
we ain't got enough alphabet for that one. Trust me. Courtney was trying to get half a point by nodding his head while saying no. So, no, he won't get that. Okay, so an interesting one that we move on to now: flop of the year.
Easy.
Oh, go on then, Courtney.
Yeah, it's predictable, but I'm going with Tsunoda.
Yeah, I don't know why. I went with that too.
Yeah, it's just look, we don't have high hopes for AlphaTauri, but completely agree with what Luke was saying about Nick De Vries. I think Nick De Vries is going to come and do a good job for the team, and it's just going to make Tsunoda look worse. I've said it before, it's the third season now. Even though he did a better job last season, he's going to sort of lose that cushion. You have to be a young driver now. He's in his third season. And unless AlphaTauri come up with something special, I just think he's going to struggle with the car that he has, and there's going to be quite a few mistakes. So I'm going to go with Yuki Tsunoda.
Yeah. I mean, I love Yuki Tsunoda, but I have to agree with you. I think this is going to be a tough year for him, and we'll have to wait and see. So I'm going to agree with you and go with Tsunoda being the flop of the year. Lee, who's your flop of the year? You were actually on the money with this one, if I remember rightly, last year.
Yeah,
with Ricciardo.
I was, but I really, for me, it's Yuki as well. That he's going to flop at that. That's what I'm expecting from him.
Sir Luke, and if you say Sir Lewis Hamilton, I'm not inviting you on this pod again.
Nah, do you know, I'm not that harsh. See, I went with Tsunoda with like to be obviously struggling this year, but I'm not actually going to go with him for this category. There was two drivers that I'm leaning towards, but I'm trying to think of which one. I thought Lance Stroll. I think if Aston Martin are going to have a very good year, he needs to be able to stay near Alonso to help the team go forward. And in my opinion, the reason why Stroll, I believe he's got the safest seat in the sport. Obviously, we all know why. But the other one I was thinking of might sound slightly harsh. Is Guan Yu Zhou.
Oh, that's so harsh.
Yeah. And I just feel that I just want to see more of him this year. I just want to see a bit more from last year. He had a decent rookie season. He's got a very good experienced teammate alongside Valtteri Bottas. I mean, hopefully Guan Yu Zhou eats a lot of porridge like Bottas does. Might give him a bit more power. But I'm actually going to be a bit more controversial on this one, I think. I'm actually going to go with Guan Yu Zhou. I think Stroll will be a bit more easier, I think. So I'm going to go with Zhou.
So what you really want, Luke, is him to get in on Valtteri's naked photo so you can get to see more of him.
All day long.
I think we have to be careful when we start talking about that.
Well, thanks for that, Luke. That's a Chinese audience lost.
Yeah, that's it. That's the mental image right there. Oh boy. Yeah, I mean it's funny actually. Like you talk about Lance Stroll as well, wouldn't you? Because I mean, if you're Fernando Alonso, you're probably wanting to stay as far away from him as possible. If Cota's anything to go by last year. And that will certainly be a battle to keep an eye on. Speaking of the Aston Martin pairing, this brings us to our next category. And this isn't fair on Lance Stroll, but I will explain in a minute. There's a caveat to this. How many points will Fernando Alonso outscore Lance Stroll by? Now, of course, if you think Lance Stroll is going to outscore Fernando Alonso, that can be your answer, really. The rule is simple for this one. Whoever is closest to the actual amount, whether it's over or under, will get the point in this one. So, Luke, what do you reckon? How many points will Alonso outscore Stroll by, or will Stroll outscore Fernando Alonso?
27.
20, oddly specific
Yeah,
there, isn't
27 points. I just think that if Aston Martin are going to score points, I think it will be, you would say, no higher than 6th, 7th every race. And what's that, sort of 4 or 5 points a time? I don't think they're going to be in the points every single race. that's why I feel that it might be a bit slightly closer, but I'm going to go with 27.
Yeah, interesting how you got to that. I went with 30, not to sort of like just... Oh, have you gone for that as well?
Lee's going 28, Courtney's going 29. And watch it be 25. But there'll be a half-point race, wouldn't there, as well? It'll be like 26.5.
Oh, yeah, that'll be the kicker, wouldn't it? And Stroll beats Fernando Alonso, and then it's like, oh, well, none of us win. But Courtney, what are you going with? I've gone 30. Luke's gone 27.
I was going to say 30, so I'm going to go up and say 31. Why not?
You bastard.
Well,
Well, it's on record now. Lee, what about you?
Oh, I haven't got the easy one, so I'm going to go 32.
anything above 32, we're screwed.
Lee's doing all the tricks to get out of this forfeit.
Oh, my God.
Every trick in the book we've seen from you today.
He really doesn't want to do the forfeit. I mean, but at the start of this episode, listeners might have wanted me to do the forfeit, but as we've gone on, I think they've increasingly grown to loathe Lee on this one. Or maybe they haven't. Nice. Maybe their praise is... I know, it's probably not nice. No. I'm sorry, dude. Okay, well, we'll move to... I believe this is the final category. And this is the most fun one. This is the one that could make the difference, because this one is worth 5 points at the end of the season. And I think it's fair that for some of them, we may all have to judge some of these predictions as whether they're worthy of the 5 points. But let's see how we go. Bold prediction time. Luke, seeing as you are our guest on this one, what is your bold prediction for 2023?
I want to say Latifi. No.
I mean, that would be bold.
Yeah. See, I don't think it'll be for the whole season, but I think it'll be for the majority of the season. Hopefully, for the sake of the sport, hopefully, a three-way battle for the championship. Mercedes, Red Bull, Ferrari. Obviously, in my opinion, Verstappen, Lewis, and Charles Leclerc. I think, as I said, I don't think it'll be throughout the whole season. I do think there's going to be an element where all three drivers are going to be relatively close. And I think all three teams are going to win a race this season minimum. So that's my bold prediction. I think it'll be a three-way battle for the majority, well, throughout the season for the Drivers' Championship.
How far do you reckon this championship fight will go?
After race one. No. I mean, how many races is it? Is that
23?
24 or 23?
Yeah.
I think usually when you get to around Suzuka time, I think that's when you sort of
Yeah,
plan it as a proper championship battle.
I mean, that's when, Max won it in Suzuka last year, didn't he? And there was there 4 or 5 races left over? But yeah, I agree with you. I've always looked at Suzuka as the championship either being won or lost at them sort of times. I would say, yeah, I'm actually going to go with that, Adam. I think when it gets to about Suzuka, I think we'll know potentially who's going to win the World Championship.
I think a good venue where we kind of know whether the championship is kind of won or lost, or where there's a battle, is around Mexico. So should we say, for argument's sake, if Verstappen, Hamilton and Leclerc, whoever's first to last, are all within about 30 points of each other after the Mexican Grand Prix, will that be fair to count as a bold prediction for you, Luke?
Yeah, I mean, how many races are there after Mexico? Is it like 2 or 3, isn't there?
3.
Yeah.
Right, because you got Las Vegas this year, haven't we?
Vegas is...
And that'll be in between
Vegas
as well.
So we've got 3 after. I think it's Brazil, Vegas, then Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go with Mexico. Yeah, okay, I'm happy with that.
So all 3 of them have to be within 30 points of each other after the Mexican Grand Prix for that to count. Is that... You happy with that?
Yeah, no, I'm happy with that,
Yeah. And guys, the reason why I'm asking, because I think it's important for the sake of these predictions to quantify what counts for it to be. I mean, it's worth 5 points. You can't just say all 3 of them in a championship fight. I mean, you know, so I know I'm trying to find loopholes here to get me out of doing the forfeit, but I think it's fair we establish some ground rules here. Lee, what's your bold prediction for 2023?
Cars will go past the start line and go finish at the finish line.
The Ferrari will be red next year.
No, in all seriousness, now I think there will be 4 different constructors that will win a race this year.
That's good.
Okay. I'll give you an extra point if you name all 4 of them.
Wow.
This on offer.
Williams, Alfa Romeo.
Okay, 2 points.
Red Bull, Ferrari, Mercedes, and Aston Martin.
Okay.
Good.
So if all 4 of those come in, you get 6 points. Just to be clear, yeah?
Yeah.
Courtney, how about you?
I want to be Romeo will be relevant this year. I'm joking. I'm gonna go with probably predictable given how I started. I'm gonna say Aston Martin to finish best of the rest and Alonso to finish 7th.
Okay, interesting. And to be fair, I will give you 6 points if both of those come in. But of course, if neither of them come in, no points.
Oh,
So,
deal
just,
or no deal.
Just so we're
Deal.
fair on that one with Lee. Because I don't want to be awarding extra points to some people not giving you a chance to have one. I think I gave Luke an opportunity earlier to have an extra point if he got one right. So I'm sure I did, Luke. I'll watch this back. I'm pretty sure I did.
Yeah, it was the Nick de Vries.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, so my one last. Now, I just remind you guys, I got it right last year when I said Fernando Alonso would replace
you were
Vettel.
judging it.
Absolutely. I still got it right, though. That was a great shout when I got that one. Alonso to replace Vettel at Aston Martin and Vettel to retire. So good thing we weren't doing proper points last year, were we? But this one that I've got, probably going to be controversial. And if I'm wrong, then I probably do deserve to do the forfeit if I come last for it. Lewis Hamilton didn't win a race in 2022. I'm going to predict he doesn't win a race in 2023 either.
Oh, that's controversial.
Oh. If you're listening to this one, Courtney just made the biggest face after that one.
I just think you want the Lewis Hamilton fans to come at us.
That was brave. As much as, like, don't get me wrong, I'm a Red Bull fan, but I think Mercedes will be up there this year.
Watch him win the Bahrain Grand Prix. Any money he wins in Bahrain, I'm like,
if he wins the Bahrain Grand Prix, I'll be writing out that sign for you straight away.
Yeah.
Do you know what the best thing is, lads? We already have that perfect picture of Adam looking sad in his Ferrari gear. So we can meme the F out of this. If Lewis wins the first race, it's just slap that all over the social.
If Lewis wins in Bahrain, I'm just going to upload a video of me looking at Mercedes tops online in my size and just like, might as well just buy it now. Start getting a discount on it while I can. But no, I said I'm going bold. I went bold last year. I was right. So, I mean, part of me hopes I'm not right, but if this is the difference between me doing the forfeit and not doing a forfeit at the end of it, then I hope I'm spot on. I'm sorry, Sir Lewis fans, but I said I was going to go bold. So
I've got one more, Adam, one more that I really can't forget. It was obviously I want to stick with the one I got, but the other one was, how can we not mention the 2 boys over at the Haas team? Surely there's got to be an interview this year with Magnussen and Hulkenberg this year.
No, you're not repeating that because we like to keep this show clean. People know what we're talking about.
Could we actually do another question and say which driver pairings are like most likely to have like a public bust up? Like,
I just think
the way we saw that between Verstappen and Ocon, like who's the most likely to lap their teammate this year?
Yeah, to be honest, as fun as that would be, I was tempted to put that in, but I just think that's going to be so subjective, isn't it? So. There's plenty of candidates in there, so we'll just have to wait and see. But I think that's pretty much all of the prediction categories done. So, of course, just to clarify, we had 11 in total, including the one with Ricciardo that I added. So a maximum of 15 points are available. But, of course, there are bonus points for Lee, Courtney and Luke if certain stipulations are met. So I hope you guys will write those down and make sure that when we come to the end of season review much later in the year, we'll find out which one of us has to do the dreaded forfeit. But guys, I hope you enjoyed that one and are playing along at home. We are going to be talking about the new cars very, very soon. At the point of recording, Haas are the first team to unveil the livery on the new car, and I thought it looked pretty good. I mean, what do you guys reckon? It looked quite nice, that new livery.
It looks solid. I saw a good comment online. It's probably Bryson. I'm a bit of a Bryson fan.
Who isn't? Who isn't?
Yeah, true. Good point. About like, we saw a lot of cars sort of shading, sort of scraping the colour off to save weight. So we might see a lot of darker concepts this year. I want to see the return of the black Mercedes. Probably won't happen, but I think we're going to be seeing a lot of darker concepts this year.
It's just going to be all carbon fibre, that Mercedes this year. They won't even bother. This is how we get down to the minimum weight. But yeah, of course, that also depends on whether or not they will stick with the 796 kilograms or if they up it to 798, which means that I think Alfa Romeo, the only team that got the weight limit at the start of the season, might have to make the car a little bit heavier. So might have to feed Joe a little bit more porridge, Luke, as you mentioned earlier. and we'll have to wait and see and get Valtteri to wear some clothes for once. So see how that goes. Lee, what did you make of that new Haas car?
It's a different livery for sure compared to previous, a complete change in color scheme. But I really do like how it looks. But as Courtney said, if we're all going to get darker colors, it's going to be boring. I know Ferrari won't be black because obviously that's not the Ferrari colors, and the Red Bull won't be black because it's not the Red Bull colors. Mercedes have done it in the past, but if it's all dark greys and blacks, and it's like, this is just a really boring grid if that's all we're going to get this season. So I really hope it's not a sign of things to come.
It's just going to end up being the biggest loser F1 championship, isn't it? Pretty much. We're all just going to be trying to shed weight off every 5 seconds. We'll just stick them on the scales to get extra point for who's lost the most weight this week. So,
do you reckon we'll see the pink Alpine return?
No, I don't think so. I mean, just trying to think back. Yeah, I mean, we might see some pink on it. I mean, and they're not with.
Yeah, BWD still.
They're still there.
With Alpine.
Yeah. Well, we might see it. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But of course, guys, I think that's all we've got time for. So hope you enjoyed that episode. If you did, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, help us get to 1,000 subs before the start of the season, and. If, of course, you enjoy your favourite podcasting platform, don't forget to give us a 5-star review. But let us know you've done it if you do on Spotify, because we'd love to give you a shout out as a way of saying thank you to you guys for your ongoing support. But until next time, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Please stay safe, and we will see you in the next episode of the DNF1 F1 podcast. And remember, as always, if you're not first, you're probably DNF1. Take care.
See you soon.
Goodbye.